Have you ever wondered if you are doing better or worse than everyone else when it comes to money? Maybe you are lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, thinking about your bank account balance. Or maybe you are scrolling through Instagram on a Tuesday afternoon. You see your friends in Tulum. You see that guy from high school buying a brand new Tesla. You see a 22-year-old influencer closing on their dream home. And a little voice in the back of your head whispers, "What am I doing wrong? Why does everyone else seem to have it all figured out while I am just trying to survive until next Friday?" If that sounds familiar, listen to me closely. You are not crazy. And more importantly, you are not alone. Today, I am going to pull back the curtain on the financial reality of the United States. I'm going to show you what is really happening behind those filtered photos and shiny new cars. I have to warn you though, some of this might make you feel better because you will realize you are not the failure you think you are. But other parts? Yeah, other parts might be a serious wake-up call. Here's the thing. We live in the era of what I call the digital Joneses. You know the old phrase, keeping up with the Joneses, right? It used to be about your next door neighbor. It was simple. You saw them buy a new Ford, so you wanted a Chevy. You saw them put in a pool, so you wanted a deck. It was localized. It was manageable. You only had to compete with the people on your street. But today, the Joneses aren't just your neighbors. They are the Kardashians. They are that random crypto millionaire on TikTok who rented a Lamborghini for a photo shoot. They are the hustle culture gurus telling you that if you do not wake up at 4 a.m. and work 24/7, you are lazy. The bar for what success looks like has been raised to an impossible height. We are constantly bombarded with highlight reels. We see the spending, we see the vacations, we see the stuff. But you know what we don't see? We don't see the credit card bills. We don't see the 29% interest rates. We don't see the arguments about money behind closed doors. We don't see the panic attacks when the car needs a new transmission. Let's be honest for a second. There is a famous quote that sums up the modern American condition perfectly. We spend money that we do not have on things we do not need to impress people who do not care. Think about that. Really think about it. How much of our financial stress is actually survival, and how much of it is performance? How much of your paycheck goes toward maintaining an image of success rather than building actual security? But, and this is a massive but, it is not just about buying too many lattes or avocado toast. I'm tired of hearing that. That is lazy advice. The problem is much deeper than your coffee habit. Let me hit you with some cold, hard data, and I need you to really hear this because it changes everything. According to recent economic reports from late 2023 and moving into 2024, approximately 60 to 62% of all Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Let that sink in. 6 out of 10. Look around you the next time you are at the grocery store. Look at the 10 people standing in line. Statistically, 6 of them have almost no buffer. If their check doesn't hit on Friday, the lights go out on Tuesday. They are walking a financial tightrope with no safety net. And here's where it gets truly shocking. You might think, oh, that's just low-income earners. That's just people working minimum wage jobs. Wrong. The data shows that even among those earning over $100,000 a year, yes, 6 figures, more than 1/3 are still living paycheck to paycheck. We even have a name for them now on Wall Street. We call them Henrys. That stands for high earners, not rich yet. So if you are sitting there making decent money, maybe even good money, but you still feel like you can never get ahead, welcome to the club. It's a very crowded club. Imagine a duck gliding across a pond. On the surface, it looks calm, elegant, effortless. That's your neighbor with the BMW. That's your friend with the designer bag. But if you look under the water, that duck is paddling its little legs furiously just to stay afloat and keep moving against the current. That is the American economy right now. A lot of furious paddling under the surface. Why is this happening? Why are we, in the wealthiest nation in the history of the world, feeling so incredibly poor? Well, it's a perfect storm. First, we have the psychological warfare of social media making us feel inadequate. Second, we have a culture that normalizes debt. We treat debt like it is income. It is not. And third, and this is the scary one, the math just isn't mathing anymore. I want you to think about your parents, or maybe your grandparents.
In the 1970s or 80s, a single income could often support a family. One person working 40 hours a week could buy a house, buy a car, and put a little aside for retirement. Today, in most major cities, you need 2 incomes just to rent a decent apartment. We are dealing with a silent erosion of our lives. It feels like we are running on a treadmill that is slowly speeding up. You have to sprint just to stay in the same place. And this leads us to the first major trap. The trap that makes you feel rich while you are actually getting poorer. I'm talking about the income illusion.
Let me ask you a question. Do you feel like you are making more money today than you were 5 years ago? Numerically, the answer is probably yes. Maybe you got a promotion. Maybe you switched jobs. Maybe you just got those standard cost of living adjustments. So here's the mystery. If the number on your paycheck is bigger, why does it feel like you can buy less? Why does $100 at the grocery store feel like $20 used to? This is the core of the illusion. We are obsessed with the number. We chase the 6-figure salary. We chase the hourly rate. But we are ignoring the only thing that actually matters, which is purchasing power. Let's get real about inflation for a minute. And I do not mean the numbers the government puts on the news. I do not care if they say inflation is 3% or 4%. I care about the real world. I care about the egg index. I care about the rent index. Think about the year 2020. It does not feel that long ago, right? But financially, it was a different planet. If you look at the cumulative inflation since then, the price of essentials has skyrocketed. We are not talking about luxury goods. We are talking about meat, dairy, fuel, and shelter. Here is the dirty little secret that nobody tells you in school. If your income goes up by 3%, but the cost of your life goes up by 5%, you did not get a raise. You got a pay cut. You are working harder, but you are falling behind. But inflation is only half of the story. It is the external enemy. The other half of the illusion is internal. It is on us. It is a psychological trap called lifestyle creep. Listen to me, because this is where most people lose the game. When you were in college, or just starting out in your early 20s, you probably lived on very little. You ate ramen noodles, you had a roommate, maybe 2. You drove a beat-up car with a check engine light that was always on, and you survived. You were okay. Then you got your first real job. You said, I deserve a better car. So you signed a lease. Then you got a raise. You said, I deserve my own apartment. So you moved uptown. Then you got a bonus. You said, I deserve a vacation. Every time your income expands, your lifestyle expands to match it. It is instant. It is automatic. It is like a gas expanding to fill a container. And the problem is, once you upgrade your lifestyle, it is psychologically painful to downgrade it. Once you are used to ordering Uber Eats 3 times a week, cooking rice and beans feels like a punishment. Once you are used to the heated seats in the luxury SUV, driving a sedan feels like a failure. So you have this deadly combination. On one side, inflation is eating your dollar from the outside. On the other side, lifestyle creep is eating your dollar from the inside. Let's look at the housing market, because this is the biggest thief of the American dream right now. Back in 1980, the median home price was about $47,000. The median household income was about $21,000. That's a ratio of roughly 2 to 1. A house cost 2 times your annual salary. That was doable. That was manageable. Today, the median home price is over $400,000. In some cities, it's nearly $1 million. But the median income has not kept pace anywhere near that ratio. In many areas, a house now costs 6, 7, or even 8 times the average salary. So when you sit there and wonder, why is this so hard? Why can't I save money like my parents did? It's because the math has fundamentally changed. You are playing a video game on the hardest difficulty setting, but expecting the results from the easy mode. But here's the hard truth. We can blame the economy, we can blame the Federal Reserve, we can blame the housing market, and we would be right. But blaming them does not fix your bank account. The income illusion tricks you into thinking you are rich because you have a high salary, but wealth is not what you make, wealth is what you keep. If you make $200,000 a year, but you spend $201,000, you are not rich, you are broke. You are just broke with nicer stuff. And this leads to a phenomenon that is unique to America. We have people driving $80,000 trucks to jobs where they can barely afford the gas to fill them up. We have people living in gated communities who are one missed paycheck away from bankruptcy. It's a facade. It's a masquerade ball where everyone is wearing a mask of prosperity. I want you to try a little experiment tonight. Go look at your credit card statement from last month. Go line by line. I want you to highlight every single charge that was a want, not a need. The streaming services you do not watch,
the random Amazon purchases at 11 p.m., the drinks out with friends that you did not really enjoy. Add it up. That number is the cost of your income illusion. That is the money you set on fire because you felt like you had enough to burn. We have to break the connection between earning more and spending more. The only way to win this game in America today is to artificially suppress your lifestyle. You have to pretend you make less than you do. If you get a raise, hide it. Send it automatically to a savings account. Do not let it hit your checking account. Do not let your brain see it, because if your brain sees it, your brain will spend it. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I get it. Inflation is bad and I spend too much, but I can just borrow money to bridge the gap, right? I can just use the credit card and pay it off later when I make more money. Stop. Do not do that. That thinking leads us directly into the darkest part of the American financial system. It leads us into the trap that keeps people poor forever. I am talking about the shackles that bind millions of us.
I am talking about debt. You see, debt in America has undergone a terrifying transformation. It used to be a tool. Maybe you took out a mortgage to buy a home or a small loan to start a business. It was calculated. It was temporary. It was a means to an end. But today, debt has become a permanent roommate. It is the unwanted guest that eats your food, sleeps on your couch, and refuses to leave. Let's look at the numbers because they are staggering. Total household debt in the United States has smashed through the $17 trillion mark. But the number that really scares me isn't the mortgages. It's the revolving debt. It is the plastic in your wallet. Americans now owe over $1 trillion in credit card debt. And with interest rates hovering around 20, 25, or even 30%, that debt is not just a hole, it is a quicksand pit. Here is the reality for the average American family. The cost of living has gone up, but wages haven't kept up. So how do they bridge the gap? They don't cut back, they use credit. The credit card has replaced the emergency fund. When the tire blows out, it goes on the Visa. When the kid needs braces, it goes on the MasterCard. We are financing our basic survival at 25% interest. But the financial industry is smart. They knew we were getting wary of high interest rates, so they invented a new trap, a silent killer. It's called Buy Now, Pay Later. You've seen it at the checkout. Affirm, Klarna, Afterpay, break this purchase into 4 easy payments. It sounds innocent, doesn't it? It sounds helpful, but let's call it what it is. It is psychological warfare. When you see a pair of sneakers for $200, your rational brain might say, that is too expensive. But when you see it for $50 today, your emotional brain says, I can afford that. You are not buying one thing you can't afford. You are buying 10 little things you can't afford spread out over months. It is death by 1,000 cuts. You look at your bank account and wonder why it's empty, but you don't see one big purchase. You just see dozens of little micropayments draining your life away. We have normalized being in debt. We don't ask, how much is the car? We ask, how much is the monthly payment? As long as we can make the minimum payment, we think we are winning, but we are losing. We are slaves to the lender. Every dollar you send to a credit card company is a dollar that is not working for your future. It is a dollar that is paying for your past. And just when you think you can crawl out of that hole, we have to talk about the generational anchor, student loans. We told an entire generation that the only way to succeed was to go to college. We said, sign here. Don't worry about the cost. It's an investment in your future. Now, we have 45 million Americans carrying nearly $2 trillion in student debt. Imagine trying to run a marathon while wearing a backpack full of rocks. That is what trying to buy a house or start a family looks like for a typical graduate today. They aren't starting at zero. They are starting at negative 50,000 or negative 100,000. So, we have the income illusion making us feel rich and the debt shackles making us poor. But surely, if we just work hard, pay off the debt, and save up, we can finally achieve the American dream, right? Buy the house, get the nice car, settle down? Well, that brings us to the next hard truth. The rules of the American dream have changed while you were sleeping. What used to be the prize at the finish line has now become a financial nightmare. Let's talk about housing. For decades, the absolute cornerstone of wealth in America was home ownership. It was the promise. You work hard, you save a little, you buy a house, you pay it off over 30 years, and then you retire in safety. Simple. But right now, the housing market is broken. We have a shortage of inventory. We have massive corporations buying up single-family homes to turn them into rentals.
And we have interest rates that have doubled mortgage payments in the span of just 2 years. For a first-time homebuyer today, the math is brutal. It is punishing. In many major cities, you need to earn nearly $200,000 to comfortably afford the median home, but the median household income is less than half of that. So what happens? We have a generation of permanent renters, and because rent prices are soaring, they cannot save for a down payment. It is a vicious cycle. You are too poor to buy, so you rent. But renting takes so much of your income that you never save enough to buy. You are stuck on a hamster wheel. And let's be honest about what this does to your psyche. When you know you might never own your own home, you stop caring about the future in the same way. You lose that sense of stability. But it is not just houses. Look at what is sitting in the driveways. Look at the cars. The average monthly payment for a new car in America is now over $700. $700. That used to be a rent payment not that long ago. And for many people, it is over $1,000 a month. We have normalized insanity. People are taking out 7-year loans, sometimes 8-year loans, just to drive a car to work. Think about that. You are financing a depreciating asset for nearly a decade. By the time you pay it off, the car is worth a fraction of what you paid. It probably needs major repairs, and you're ready to trade it in. This creates a phenomenon called negative equity, being underwater. You owe more on the car than the car is worth. And what do people do? They roll that negative equity into the next loan. They are compounding their debt, digging a deeper hole with every new model year. And finally, the one that bankrupts more Americans than anything else, the unique American tragedy: healthcare. We are the only developed nation where getting sick can ruin you financially. You can do everything right. You can save, you can budget, you can avoid credit cards, but one accident, one bad diagnosis, one trip to the emergency room, and your entire financial life can be wiped out in an afternoon. Even if you have insurance, the deductibles and premiums are eating into paychecks like never before. It is a constant low-level anxiety that hangs over every American family. What if something happens? What if I lose my job and lose my coverage? Then there is the cost of childcare. In many states, putting 2 kids in daycare costs more than the mortgage. It is literally a second salary. So parents are forced to make impossible choices. Do I quit my job to watch the kids, or do I work just to pay a stranger to watch them? So when you put it all together, the picture is clear, and it is ugly. We are navigating a minefield. We are dealing with stagnant real wages, skyrocketing costs of living, predatory lending, and a housing market that has locked the door on the middle class. It is easy to feel hopeless. It is easy to look at this mountain of obstacles and say, the system is rigged, I give up. This leads to a behavior economists are calling doom spending. Have you heard of this? It is when people say, I will never be able to afford a house anyway, so I might as well buy this expensive dinner. I might as well go on this trip. I might as well enjoy today because the future looks impossible. And I get that, I really do. It is a rational emotional response to an irrational economic environment. But here's the thing. Giving up is not a strategy. Ignoring the problem will not make it go away. Doom spending might make you feel better for an hour, but it makes your life harder for years. The system is rigged, yes, but that means you have to be smarter than the system. You have to play by different rules. You have to be a guerrilla warrior in your own financial war. There is a way out. It is not easy. It is not a magic pill, and it definitely is not a get-rich-quick scheme, but it is the only path that actually works. We need to talk about the escape plan. We need to talk about how to opt out of the madness, how to build real, tangible freedom in a world designed to keep you broke and dependent. We need to talk about changing your mindset from a consumer to an owner. So, take a deep breath. We have stared into the abyss. We have looked at the darkness of the debt, the housing market, and the income trap. Now, let's look for the light. Let's talk about how we fight back.
The first step in the escape plan is a radical shift in your mindset. You have to stop playing the game the world wants you to play. The world wants you to believe that wealth is visible. It wants you to believe that wealth is the car you drive, the clothes you wear, and the house you live in. But that is a lie. That is not wealth. That is consumption.
True wealth is invisible. True wealth is the money you did not spend. It is the options you have. It is the ability to quit a job you hate because you have 6 months of expenses in the bank. It is the ability to sleep at night without worrying about the electric bill. We need to redefine what it means to be successful. Success is not impressing the Joneses. Success is freedom. So how do we get there? How do we build this freedom in an economy that is hostile to it? Phase 1 is what I call stop the bleeding. You cannot fill a bucket that has a hole in the bottom. You need to perform a ruthless audit of your life. And I don't mean just cutting out Netflix. That is small potatoes. I am talking about the big 3: housing, transportation, and food. These 3 categories account for nearly 70% of the average American budget. If you can win here, you win the war. If you are driving a car with a $700 payment, you are bleeding. Sell it. Get a beater. Get something that gets you from point A to point B without owning your soul. It will not be sexy. It will not impress anyone at the stoplight, but it will free up nearly $1,000 a month when you factor in insurance and gas. That is life-changing money. If you are house poor, renting an apartment you can barely afford just to be in a cool zip code, you have to move. You have to get a roommate. You have to do whatever it takes to get your housing costs down to 25 or 30% of your take-home pay. Phase 2 is the attack. Once you have stopped the bleeding, you will find something magical happens. You have a gap. The gap is the difference between what you earn and what you spend. Most people take that gap and spend it on new shoes. You are going to take that gap and attack your debt. You are going to use the avalanche method. You line up your debts from the highest interest rate to the lowest. Usually this is the credit cards. You attack that 29% interest rate with everything you have. You throw every spare dollar at it. You sell things you don't need. You pick up a side hustle. You drive Uber on the weekends. You do this with the intensity of a person whose hair is on fire, because financially your hair is on fire. You are not going to do this forever. You are going to do this for a season. You are sacrificing a year or 2 of comfort to buy a lifetime of freedom. Phase 3 is the pivot. You cannot budget your way out of poverty if your income is too low. We talked about the income illusion earlier, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to earn more. It just means you shouldn't spend more when you do. In this economy, loyalty to an employer is often a tax. The data shows that people who switch jobs every 2 to 3 years earn significantly more than those who stay. You need to constantly be upgrading your skills. You need to be mercenary about your career. You are the CEO of your own life. Negotiate like one. And finally, phase 4, the transformation. This is where you move from being a consumer to being an owner. When you have killed your debt and built your emergency fund, you don't stop there. You start investing. You stop giving your money to companies to buy their products, and you start giving your money to companies to buy their stock. You buy the S&P 500. You buy real estate if the numbers make sense. You let the power of compound interest work for you. Einstein called it the 8th wonder of the world. Those who understand it, earn it. Those who don't, pay it. For your entire life, you have been paying it. You have been paying interest to the banks. Now it is time to start earning it. Listen to me. This journey is going to be lonely. When you start saying no to expensive dinners, your friends might look at you funny. When you drive an old Toyota instead of a new Ford, people might think you are struggling. Let them think that. Let them enjoy their financed luxury while they panic about their next paycheck. You are playing a long game. You are building a fortress that no recession, no inflation, and no job loss can destroy. The American dream is not dead, but it has changed. It is no longer about the white picket fence and the 2 cars in the driveway given to you on a silver platter. It is about resilience. It is about autonomy. You have the power to opt out of the madness. You have the power to stop doom spending and start freedom building. It will be hard. It will take time. There will be days where you want to quit and just swipe the card. But imagine this. Imagine waking up 5 years from now. You have no car payment. You have no credit card bills. You have 6 months of cash in the bank. Your investments are growing in the background. You walk into your boss's office. You are not afraid of losing your job because you don't need the max paycheck to survive. You walk tall. You speak your mind. You are free. That is the new American dream, and it is waiting for you to grab it. So stop looking at the Joneses. Start looking at your freedom. I'm your money mentor. Now go get to work.